a wee bit. Football, bloody hell. But they never give in. And that's the winner.
Welcome to the American Red Devils podcast. I'm John.
I'm Alex.
And we're bringing you the best Manchester United news from this side of the pond.
Woo, sir. How we doing? International break is just about over. Manchester United, the high-flying Reds, the Showtime Reds, they are on the way back this weekend. And it's never going to be easy coming back from international break. We've got a big absentee. We'll talk about that in the preview. But United have games thick and fast. We have a game every 3-4 days in April alone. And then depending on how we do in the Cups, it will just continue most likely into the last month of the season in May. So we're not squeaky bum time, but we're getting into the last licks of the season. It's been a hell of a season. The longest season I can remember with the World Cup in the middle of it. And United, it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. We've already got one cup in the bag. Top four is very much up for grabs. It is not a sure thing at this point. And Newcastle, it's going to be a really, really tough game. We're going to play in St. James Park. They're going to want revenge. All the Toons are really pissed off that we embarrassed them at Wembley, and they want revenge. Simple as that. United, it's always hard to get your feet underneath you. Coming out of international break, it's been good for United. Its players gotten rest. Some players have been scoring braces. Shout out McSauce. Back-to-back braces for Scotland. But most importantly, I'm just excited to see the boys play again because, unlike last season, it's been a joy to watch them at times. How are we feeling? How are we doing?
That's the perfect analogy. Manchester United this season, unbelievable under Eric Ten Hag. Apologies for the voice. We are in the bunker. It is 5 in the morning. 5:45. Raining. Getting this preview pod out. Pod never sleeps. But the difference for me...
We never sleep.
We never sleep. The difference for me is the fact that international break last year, just couldn't wait for it. Because I was like, oh my God, watching these games is horrific. International break this year feels like food doesn't taste the same. I want to see the boys flying around that pitch. Obviously, just bummed Casemiro is going to be out. That, I feel, is really just a bad taste in my mouth going forward for these next three matches. We're going to need him for Newcastle, Brentford, and Everton. He's going to be gone for all three. April is going to be insane. 9 matches scheduled in the month of April. So you got 2 weeks off. Never mind. You're going to be playing all the time. This is when we're playing for keeps. This is crunch time. We had a similar period in October before the World Cup. We aced the test. We've had a sort of a wet noodle March, things bouncing around, didn't go our way. If you recall, Fulham 1, Manchester United 3 in the FA Cup quarters. Last match, it was rocky to start. Fulham had the better of us. It was in our house at home, and we did not play very well. The lads have had 2 weeks off. How are we going to show up against Newcastle? It's a tough test. This is not an easy team. You have Newcastle, you got tricky Brentford, and Everton under Sean Dyche who are going to be up for the match. This is going to be a tough one. These 3 matches are going to set the tone for the month. If we need 7 points at a minimum, 6 in a worst-case scenario when we're in this race for a top 4. We're playing for keeps. It's all on the line. Look, we saw Ole have a great season and then wet noodle it and blow top 4 at the end of the season. Eric Ten Hag, I don't think he's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but this is where your money is made coming into the end of the season. You can win trophies. You can get the angelic voices, the Champions League theme. We're dying for it. We've expected it. Most fans think it's already in the bag, and I have a feeling it's going to be nervy right until the end.
Nothing's done until it's done. And I like that analogy because last year you couldn't wait for the national break, so you didn't have to watch the train wreck play out game by game. Now it's a wholly different proposition. Miss United, miss seeing the boys play, miss exciting attacking football. But like you said, March, I think we were really starting to show our fatigue, lack of depth, and also the manager's insistence on starting not the same, but basically the same 11 week in, week out. Now it's going to be about getting results, right? I think 6 points has to be the bar. Newcastle is going to be the toughest of those 3 matches because it's on the road. It's the better team of the 3, and it's on the road. And it's like the first game back, and that's always the most difficult one because the boys haven't played together in a couple of weeks. But Marcus Rashford, he's gotten some good rest. He's training. Eriksen's on the way back. Hopefully he can start featuring maybe by mid-April. We'd love to see that. Garnacho, he's one step closer to getting back. every week. We got to keep an eye on the Varane injury, right? He picked up a knock before international break. And the boys just need to get back to business. It's about win, baby, win. That's the motto. And Newcastle is where it starts. Toughest of the three that are coming next week. It's unbelievable. We have 3 EPL games in a week. But I'm excited. Everything to play for. Trophies still up for grabs and important ones. And the top 4 is going to go down to the very, very end.
Unfortunately, it seems like it is. I think 538.com has United to make top 4 at 75%. That makes me nervous because there's a lot of matches against some big teams coming into the end, as well as the additional Europa League and FA Cup games. So we're going to be running uphill the whole way to the end of May. Quick PSA for the podcast. If you like the American Red Devils and you want to support independent fan content, check out our Patreon page. We keep this podcast ad-free. We are leaving ad dollars on the table. We want to be supported by you, the fans. Think of it like a tip jar. Go there, sign up for Patreon, support the pod. That is what it's all about, www.patreon.com/American Red Devils. Tons of benefits. Please check it out. Please keep this podcast ad-free. Also, check out our website, AmericanRedDevils.com, and our store, AmericanRedDevils.store. Patreon's not your bag. Go grab some merch, hoodies, shirts, beanies, scarves as well. We have tons of scarves. Greatest of English football. We've won it all. The Munich Air Disaster Tribute scarf. Please check out our scarves. Grab one. Great way to support the pod, and you get to support this amazing team. Sir, tell them about iTunes reviews.
iTunes reviews or 5-star reviews of the American Red Devils podcast, wherever you listen. It's a great way to support the pod. It helps us get found organically by other top Muppets like yourself, and even better, we got an extra special giveaway. We're giving away free Glazer Out American Red Devil designed green and gold scarves, and we're giving them away for writing 5-star reviews. All you have to do, right, is write a 5-star review wherever you listen, ideally on iTunes or Spotify, and send a screenshot to AmericanRedDevils@gmail.com with your mailing address, and I will personally pick, pack, and ship a free Glazer Out scarf sent right to your door anywhere in the world. Here's a great review coming from SS Grok 17, greatest Red Devil pod out there. Howdy, y'all. Just want to say thanks for the best Manchester United pod. Not just this side of the pod, neither. Been listening to y'all for 5 years. Shout out. Thank you. Sorry for not writing a review soon. I really look forward to hearing y'all take. Thank you, SS Grok. And thank you, everyone writing reviews. The Warehouse Factory is backed up. I'm a little late on getting orders out. It's been kind of insane in the house of Alex. But they're coming. Don't worry,
No
you're in a
excuses.
queue.
Play like a champion.
Piss off.
I like how
guy,
you say,
you want to hop on. You want to hop on the the
I
Amazon
just,
warehouse.
you know,
I'm just letting people know because
Alex
I think
isn't
people are
like
getting a
that.
little antsy, and appreciate all the reviews. Incredible. I've already shipped like 50 to 60. Got another
The
20
warehouse is
coming.
a big, like, let it stack up, do this, like, giant
Yeah,
session
exactly,
instead
yeah.
of, like, the weekly, just manageable amount.
Well, come on down, sir.
But, like,
I'll
I like
tell
how
you know the code in my garage.
I like how you say pick, pack, and ship. Like, he goes to the scarf, Glazer's
pick
Out
it.
tree.
I pack
he
it.
climbs up the Glazer's Out scarf tree, picks a few off the branches.
Clearly, you've never been in forward logistics, my friend. It's like you have to go
pick
get
them up.
it from the box. You got to put it
No, I
in
like
a
the
bag.
tree. I like the tree better.
Yeah, I wish there was that Glazer Out tree.
All right, let's check in with the EPL table. It has been a bit. The Gunners, top of the table, 69 points, 28 played. Man shitty, game in hand, 61. If they win, they are 5 off the mark. And by the way, those two have to play. So I don't know why I'm rooting for Man Shitty to beat the Gunners. I just think the Gunners are that team that have gotten down like Manchester United. We've kept them down since RVP. And to see them lift the EPL title, that just feels... I just don't like that too much. United, more importantly, 50 points, 26 played. Wow, we absolutely bottled that title race. We had a chance at it, and we just blew every game. And not only did we blow that, we drew Southampton, who's not even on this top 10, and we're falling quickly into this race. We have 2 games in hand against Tottenham with 49 points. Newcastle, 47 points. They have 26 played. If they beat us, they are tied with us on points. And then that brings 4th place real close, uncomfortably close for Manchester United. So this Newcastle game
And they have us a goal differential.
So important. Our goal differential is horrid at 6. You have to go to Fulham to find a worse goal differential, who are 9th in the EPL table, because when we concede in boatloads of goals, sir. I think there was a match we're not going to talk about in this podcast, but you can't say it enough. This Newcastle match, it's away. They're looking at top 4. They beat us. We are right. They just dragged us into the pit with Tottenham, Newcastle. The Scouse Bashers are going to be down there. We're going to be fighting. It's going to be a fight for a knife in the mud. And the one concern I have is that when the temperature gets turned up, when we were close to that title race, this team is wilted when they get close to the sun. And if we get dragged down into high-pressure matches and we have injuries and Cass is out, sorry, don't call me a pessimist, but we've seen this movie before.
I know which way you're calling the glass of water, sir. I don't disagree, but United, this is not going for a title, right? That was a week. That was fun. But United's going for top 4. I agree. It's all still to play. It's really us, Tottenham, Newcastle. I mean, the Scousers, if they make a play, there is a gap, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. They could be in the mix as well, but we got to worry about Spurs, and we got to worry about Newcastle. Newcastle, if we could win then, we have games to make up against Spurs. It would be a huge game. I'm not super confident. We have to play Spurs as well, which is good because Spurs just fired their manager, and Spurs are
you get a new manager bounce. Again, you can get a new manager bounce.
It's only a new manager bounce if you're like the first team you play after they fire
the only
them.
point I'm trying to make is that there was the high-flying, good-time United who could do nothing wrong, and then all of a sudden
there's always going to be a drop-off.
Slapped upside the head.
There's always going to be a drop-off.
And
we don't even have a striker.
It's going to be a dogfight.
Weghorst can't score a goal, bro.
I'm just going to say there's going to be a little
it's going to go to the
what
end.
do you got? There's going to be a little bit of a dogfight here for top 4 if we get dragged into it. And you beat Newcastle, you got some daylight, and so if we lose to that game,
I see draw.
Draw is okay. We lose, it's on. And that's
we
not where we want to be.
And we could easily lose this game, right? Because this is the hardest game of the 3 EPL games that are coming, I guess, this week, next week. This is going to be the most difficult one, especially because it's the first game out of the international break, because it always takes a little bit to get your legs underneath you. But, sorry, it's not going to be easy. The top 4 is going to go down to the last day of the season. We play Fulham, I think, again.
Day before last. I can see a day before last day of the season.
Maybe.
But
I would love the game we're going to. We beat Wolves, at home. That'd be fun.
No, I'd like to just not worry about top 4 and worry about lifting more trophies. But we shall see. Let's get into it. That's right. We have a next match: Newcastle versus Manchester United, St. James's Park, Sunday, April 2nd, 8:30 a.m. Pacific. Great kickoff time. 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Lifetime versus Newcastle. We've won 91. We've drawn 41, and we've lost 43. First time we ever played them, Newcastle versus Newton Heath. We won 5-1 in the second division of English football in 1895. Last 5 coming in 1-3, drawn 2, with obviously the last match being the EFL Cup final. I felt like singing Alan Shearer's name, having a laugh. Are they going to try to come back and get some revenge against Manchester United? Because we had way too much fun on that cup final day. Last 4 matches coming in. United beat them in the EFL final. City beat them 2-0 by the same scoreline. They beat Wolves 2-1. They beat Nottingham Forest 2-1. They are not playing as many matches as Manchester United, but again, both had 2 weeks off. Probably more Manchester United players on international break. So maybe we have less stress. Who knows? We shall see. A little history of Newcastle. They were founded in 1892 by the merger of Newcastle East End and Newcastle West End. They play their home matches at St. James's Park in the center of Newcastle. Newcastle have won 4 league titles, 6 FA Cups, and an FA Charity Shield. But it's been a while since they've won, I think since the 50s, at least for a cup final. The team's traditional kit colors, you know them. They're the referees. I think growing up, when you first see the Newcastle kit, you're like, why would anyone wear the referee kit? I think it's a riot.
You know why?
Because referees were neon yellow in the EPL.
Because they literally had those stripes before NFL was even invented.
No, I know.
Literally, I remember I used to play FIFA with Manchester United, and you play the stripe gang. You play Newcastle, and I was like, how the hell could they do that? When they mixed up with the refs? That's how old they are, sir. Throwing it all the way back.
Their crest has elements of the city's coat of arms, which features 2 gray hippocamps. Before each home game, the team enters the field to Local Hero, and Bladen Races is also sung during games, so you can expect to hear a local hero and have everyone up and ready. Not to mention the fact they got that bone saw sound in the stadium.
Is that the opener?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that like the song, the warm-up song?
Yeah, exactly. Eddie Howe knows nothing about it, but they play the 4-3-3. They got Pope in net. He did not feature in the EFL final, and he is probably the keeper of the season for the entire Premier League. Kieran Trippier creating more chances than anyone. Longstaff, Saint Maximum, Isak as well, Willock. So they have a solid team. We saw him in the EFL final. It was not straightforward for United. I mean, like Kieran Trippier, we did not deal with him. Delo had to get subbed. So it's not like the EFL final was like we won, but Newcastle they did show up that day and they did not have their best 11 on the field.
No, we were clinical. I mean, we won the game in like 10 minutes of football, right? First it was the Casemiro header, great free kick from Shaw. Casemiro buries it.
He's not playing now.
And then not Ronaldo, Jesus Christ. It is early here in California. Rashford got the game, the deflection, and that was ice in the game. But you're right, they're a hard opponent. We're going to go to their house. We've been to Newcastle, sir, on the way to Sunderland. It's way up there. It's like the last major city that you've heard of up north in England. You can't even believe how far up it is. Nice town. We went to Sunderland, which is a different type of town. But it's going to be a really tough match. They're going to want revenge. Dude, the players are going to want revenge. They got Bruno Guimaraes in the middle of the park. He's a good. They're a good team, dude. Eddie Howe. It's going to be a tough match, and we are missing our best players. So now it's time for the manager to cook and put something together because the injury list is pretty long.
Yeah, look, injury stacking up for United. Obviously, Donny, he done. Christian Eriksen, he's coming back. I think he was on the training pitch. Casemiro suspended. Sabitzer got an injury at international break. Don't need that.
No.
But then again, you look at how he played in the middle of the park against Fulham. He did score the goal, but the midfield was atrocious with him and McTominay in it. Martial, Varane, Rashford, and then obviously Garnacho. So a lot of players out. Obviously, Rashford had the knock. He should be back. Varane could be a shout. Don't know. Casemiro's not featuring. Sabitzer, it's currently being assessed here. And then, so I would expect not to see Garnacho, not to see Varane, not to see Martial. Obviously, you're not going to see Casemiro, you're not going to see Eriksen, you're not going to see Donny. So I think Marcus should be available. Yeah.
And that's the only one on this list because it's a long injury list. Injuries. Let's talk about starting 11s. Here's mine. De Gea and net. I'm going to do AWB, Shaw, Martinez, Malacia, because Shaw is the third best center back we have, so I'm going to stick him in there. I'm going to do Fred, McTominay, Bruno, but I'm going to play McTominay as 10. Bruno's going to play deeper with Fred after McTominay is just scoring more goals than Wout Weghorst can manifest in 2 games of international football. Rashford on the left. Wout's up top. Who else we got? Anthony on the right, sir. What is your starting 11?
I got the same exact starting 11, but I'm not playing McTominay at 10. I'm playing him in the 2 with Fred. I think we got to be conservative. And, shout out to Eric Ten Hag, who didn't want to play the McFred midfield. There's something about it that doesn't sit with him. He wanted to put Sabitzer in there, but I would be more comfortable with Sabitzer and Fred, Bruno. Regardless, I just didn't think McTominay, Sabitzer worked well against Fulham, at least in the first half. We did come back and win that game. There was all good vibes all around, but I got nightmares about that midfield pairing, especially when you drop off after Casemiro. It's just tough. All right, get into the bookie.
It's a drop-off.
It's a drop-off, and that's something that we got to address this summer. Give me the odds for Newcastle, Manchester United.
United the favorites. Newcastle plus 140 at home, plus 240 for the draw. That's an interesting one, and then plus 190 for United to get the victory. Actually, United are the underdogs. Who would have thought Newcastle, the bookies favor them? Given the odds, or what is your score prediction?
It has everything about it. The EFL final fans, Manchester United fans, laughing at them. Sir, they're going to be hard to overcome. I'm going to say Newcastle gets us 2-1 away. I just feel like this has the revenge written all over it that they should get, and the footballing gods are just. We are due for a serious race for top 4. We're due for pressure on this team trying to win big games. Brighton with top 4 on the line. Do we fade? Do we step up? Injuries, etc. We're going to be tested. This is going to test this team. And that's what I'm concerned about, being tested, because Crystal Palace away shutting off at the last second. That's a test. That's a failure of that test. So it's going to be nervy.
I wouldn't want to come back with a bad scorecard, a bad report card for you, bro. He's like going back to everything we failed at this season.
When the frustrations are compounded, but the problem is the frustrations are compounded.
But there's been more good than bad.
The EFL final is not that pressure, but like whenever there's like,
it's not as much pressure as playing them in a league game.
I've watched this team for a long time. And, we did do it Leicester City last match of the season. We got top 4. Wasn't pretty, if you recall, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I've seen us fade. But when we get close to the lights, in the league at least, when we have to win these games, they're like must win. If we want to make a title race, we want to not drop air between us and Arsenal, and we need to beat inferior opposition. We struggle. It's just something that I've seen way too much. Over the last couple of years, and I can't help. This probably isn't that game.
It's not.
But if we lose, and then you're playing Brighton, those are the games I would worry about. This Newcastle match, I think we're going to go toe to toe. I just think Newcastle's got more piss and vinegar, sir. Hungry dog runs faster.
Well, they have more. They need to win this game more than we do. This is not a must-win game. We'd love to win it. If we win it, it makes top 4 that much easier. But like you said, I don't want to call a loss. This is a game that I think United should not be surprised if we lost this game. Just given everything we've kind of went over the last 20 minutes. I'm going to call it a draw. I think it goes 1-1. United walk away with a point and then move on to midweek. The Bees. Hopefully they don't sting us all over. But this is going to be a tough one. So trap game only in the sense that, they want revenge. And the Toon Army wants revenge. So looking forward to it. Nice time.
I'm just looking for us to kick that malaise because March was that. We never really got going. We beat Betis, but first half not looking good. I just feel like whether it's the fixture schedule, whether it's the lack of depth, there's something we can't kick and get back into gear. The governor on the car is like, I just feel like we're trying. This Newcastle match, we can come out smack them 4-0. We're back on it, and then we just finish with 2 trophies, top 4. Everything proved me wrong, but I like to maybe say, predict the worst case scenario, hope for the best, sir. That's kind of where I'm at.
That's how you manage expectations, sir. Let's get into some news.
United in the news. Some great news this morning. Sir Alex Ferguson has been inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. I mean, this shouldn't be news. He owns the Premier League. I mean, it's the Sir Alex Ferguson Premier League. You haven't heard? I mean, he owns this thing. Won it 13 times. The Impossible Dream. Have you heard of it?
I have heard of it.
It's like he gets inducted, he owns it.
I have heard it. I mean, I didn't even know there was a Premier League Hall of Fame, and if it existed, well,
we've
of course,
covered it on the pod. They did that.
I know. I'm half joking, but also if there is a Premier League Hall of Fame, obviously he belongs in it. The greatest manager of all time, arguably. Definitely the greatest manager in football. Definitely the greatest British manager by a country mile, and just what a legend. Even not just in Manchester United, even with his Scotland managerial career before he moved south. Dude, he's unbelievable manager, incredible. I mean, you run out of superlatives around this man, given what he did over his 27-year career at United. Right, 13 titles, 2 Champions Leagues, 5 FA Cups, 4 EFL Cups, which, and there could have been more of all this. The team stopped investing in the aughts of 2000s, and they really pulled back under the Glazers. I think we could have at least won one of those games, one of those matchups against cheating Barcelona, who we find out 15 years later were cheating the whole time, which they had a great team, but you know what? Sounds about right. Either way, Fergie,
tell me you're still salty about losing the Barcelona.
Salty, bro. I was in Rome. Yeah, exactly. I was in Rome watching them just beat us up after we tried to play toe-to-toe with them. That was a mistake. Fergie got that wrong, but he got a lot more right than he got wrong, and he was just his ability to change as the game changed and just put out different teams, rebuild the squad, one after multiple times, rebuilt it into title-winning teams, competing for everything in the game, and his man management, his ability to work the press. Dude, he stands alone. He's a man alone on an island on the top of a mountain. He is the greatest of all time, and every Manchester United fan is lucky if they got a chance to see a team play underneath his management.
Yeah, I'm going to go farther than you. I think you kind of came in like greatest British manager. Like he's the greatest sporting coach of all time. I mean, like, I think the only one that could get close to him would be like Wooden at UCLA, who won the NCAA title, I think, like in the tens. For me, he's number one on the list. You say, who's done it? He had to do it over multiple eras, had to reinvent the team, reinvent the style of play. Like you said, ownership challenges, etc. He navigated it all. He managed up, he managed down. He rarely made a mistake. Obviously, he ran into Barcelona. Probably, and when you say Barcelona, people are going to talk about they were the greatest team of all time, one of the greatest teams assembled.
Squads,
you could also say 99 was one of the greatest teams of all time. But he didn't just ride 99 and then couldn't win the Champions League or couldn't repeat it. No, he did it again. Exactly. So when you have to compare, I mean, like, clearly you're getting the Muppet take here. I think it's undisputed he's the greatest manager in football history, and I think he's the greatest coach in sporting history. Like, has to be number one on the list because it's the breadth. It's going from 99 all the way, like 92 to all the way to 2013, and he arguably had more years in him. The biggest crime, I think, is the Glazer ownership, the direction the team was heading, and how he kind of got out. He didn't go for trying to reinvent the squad one more time. He left the team with a weak squad, an aging team that needed to be rebuilt, and I think we saw that legacy kind of, not his legacy, but we saw the remnants where he left the team. He kind of left the team high and dry, and I think it's because he didn't expect to win that last title. I think he had at least 2 to 3 more years in him. I thought he would rebuild it. Then he kind of won that title, and you win that a little earlier than you expect, and you kind of head out in the sunset. But the greatest sporting coach/manager of all time, the case study in Harvard Business School, etc. I mean, you'll never see this ever again.
No.
I also think that it was, I don't want to diminish the accomplishments, but I think United had a model in the early 2000s and late 1990s that just football players were undervalued, like buying Rooney for $30 million. I just think we just took advantage of our commercial might, and we imposed our will on all of English football, and it was glorious to see. And man, what would we pay to just see one title? We saw 13. I mean, this man is a legend. There's Sir Alex Ferguson stand, the statue, etc. But you just can't say enough superlatives about him.
No, you can't. He's definitely the greatest football manager of all time, and like you said, arguably the greatest sports manager of all time. And I think you made a really good point that we should hit on before we move on, which is he would probably keep going for at least another 2 to 3 to 4 years. But dude, they stopped investing in the club in 2009, bro. They like sold Ronaldo, 80 million pounds, and they bought Gabriel bald as shit Oberton, who was terrible, Michael Owen on a free. And he knew the Glazers weren't investing, and he still won. He still won in 11. He still won in 13. They didn't want to sign RVP at all. They didn't want to sign him. They didn't want to spend the money. So he knew he had to get out. He wanted to end on top, as he should. You should always try and end on top. That's a lesson from Sir Alex. But, he also had a hand in getting the Glazers in on the first place. Shout out Rock of Gibraltar. So if you know that story. But at the end of the day, we are indebted to him. He gave us so much good times. He has set the standard for the EPL. There's all these like fucking comparisons. It's hilarious about like the whole Klopp, Pep spout, him, and then obviously Wenger also got inducted today. Now he's a much lower manager. He's a great manager, but that was a great era. Like end of 90s, early 2000s, Invincibles, United won the treble, and it was just going back and forth. But Fergie, he gave us so many good times, and dude, he's a legend.
And made the sport. I mean, he is what made the Premier League the international brand that it became, the rivalries between him and Mourinho, the mind games. Also, shout out mind games. You love to see Sir Alex. And, his health issues, but he appears to be on the mend. Just a great, just a pleasure to be associated with him. I mean, he is Manchester United. He's everything about this club, and man, I love how they still show his reactions in the stands. And when we're beating people up, he's happy. When we're getting smoked, he's sad. I just hope that we lift the Premier League title while he's still still around, because that's one thing I really felt as soon as he left. It was, how long is it going to take us to win one? Because you kind of need to win. This team is all about the Premier League. 20 times Man United. It's in the intro. This team is all about the Premier League. He leaves. He won you 13 of them. You got to win one to show that you don't. It's almost like you got to kind of get back to winning as quick as possible after he's gone, and that's proved to be harder without him. So we need to get that Premier League title, and I hope we get it while Sir Alex Ferguson's still around.
Well said. Well said.
The odds on that are it's going to be Ten Hag. Ten Hag's the only manager in the last decade that could do it. So let's see next season.
The sale's going to be integral, right? If the Glazers hang around, I think they're going to slow down investment. We'll see. I'd love for him to see it, be a part of that, enjoy it. I love the fact that him and Ten Hag are working closely together. And dude, we're all lucky. Anyone who's gotten to see Manchester United play under Fergie, anyone who got to see United play 13 or before is lucky, because he was, like you said, the greatest. There'll never be another Sir Alex. No one's going to be winning what he did in Scotland, come to England, dominate for basically 25 years, and just set the standard so high. Like you said, they basically made the EPL the most valuable sports league in the world, the most exciting sports league in the world.
It was just a different
He built
vibe
great
with him
team
around,
after great
man.
team, bro. It's like his signings were incredible, right? From the Roy Keanes, the Cantonas, the Andy Cole, the Wayne Rooney, the Root. It's like he just got it right.
We were just mean. Manchester United was mean.
Oh, he was mean, bro.
I know he was.
He
There
was.
Edge.
Yeah,
People say Old Trafford was a fortress, and I actually think Old Trafford, it can be a fortress, but it needs someone at the helm. I felt like Sir Alex Ferguson is the one. You could tell he had that temper. You could tell he had that edge to win, and I felt like he kind of made it a fortress because now teams find it too easy. Fulham coming in, having a game but you said it, sir. It's all about the Glazers. Let's get into the ownership discussion. We had a great interview with Stan Chow in the last podcast. We did the news. We covered the sale. So if you want to get our latest sale take, we did I think a 15-minute deep dive on it. Essentially, what this bidding process is showing us is that there is a disconnect in valuation. Like we always said, Glazers are going to want $6 billion. They have $1 billion per Glazer. It's not that hard to figure out. If you want to buy a prized asset from somebody who has the attitude, convince me to sell it, you got to pay what they want. And the Glazers want $6 to $7 billion. The Washington Redskins are currently running a sale process where the Washington Redskins, a poor NFL team, is going to be sold for $6 billion. Now, I understand the cash flow in the NFL is much more reliable because the league is structured in a manner where there's rev share and the TV rights are growing exponentially, et cetera. But and that makes sense from a valuation perspective. But if you think from the intangible assets, the brand of Manchester United is surely worth more than the Washington. And actually, I'm saying, yeah. Why am I saying Redskins? I grew up on the East Coast, so I'm used to that.
The Commanders,
exactly. So the Commanders are going to sell, and it's like a bad franchise, horribly run. Don't need to get into it, but they're going to sell for $6 billion. So the fact that Manchester United could be sold for $6 billion isn't insane. Obviously, we want the Glazers gone, but I think it's insane to think if you're Qatar or Jim Ratcliffe, you're going to lowball the Glazers. They're not going to go anywhere. They're just going to get a minority investment, redo like one part of the stand at Old Trafford, and then hold it for another 10 years and sell it for $10 billion. Because at the rate inflation's going, or sell it in the next hot market. Because right now it makes sense. Like the market's not doing well, the bids are not sky high. They could hold on. It's a reasonable decision if you're thinking it from an investment perspective. Obviously, from a fans, we want the Glazers out at all costs. But this is business. This is straight business, and if no one's going to meet their asking price, I would have told you why run the process, because I knew it had to be $6 billion. These bidders are trying to bottom feed on the Glazers. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, the more we've gotten through this, the more you've likely seen that they're going to stick around, and they can raise money at a higher valuation and get less dilution, right? Because, well, it's at least worth $4.5 billion, and I think the fact that a football team with a new name that no one's ever heard of, that no one really gives a fuck about it. And I get NFL. It's a cash machine. It shits cash. They could be the worst team in the NFL for a decade, and they basically make as much money as the best team, more or less. They make a little less, but they make a shit ton of money and have to do, like, nothing. So, NFL, if you can own an NFL team, great business to own. Obviously, Manchester United is like, dude, there's not an NFL team that's as famous as Manchester United. Cowboys probably the closest, but, like, it's just a different animal. But I think the fact that the Commanders are about to be traded, I think very soon, I think bids are coming in right now. It's a parallel process with Manchester United, will make it even more likely the Glazers hold off. Because like I said, they can wait 3-4 years and probably get 8, 9, 10. And
I told you all this.
That goes a long way.
All the initiatives
would
are
you rather have
coming.
$1.5 billion than $800 million?
Well, the real vision is, like I told you before, the Premier, the Premier League is going to start playing games in America, start playing games abroad. The commercial revenue side is going to increase. The TV rates are going to increase because of these initiatives. The EPL is going to do exactly what the NFL did in reverse. The NFL is coming to Europe. They're taking market share away from the EPL. Like NFL, I've gone to England many times since, 2003, 2004, and nobody cared about the NFL. Now we go, and it's like people really care about the NFL. That is a successful business model.
They do care. I'm actually shocked they
people care about EPL here, but EPL and give them nothing. Now, if you look at the United States, EPL should be taking advantage of that, and they will in some way, shape, or form. And it's bound to happen. Commercial revenue is going to go up for the Premier League once they catch on. They're usually late to the party. If you've ever been over to the UK, the ticketing doesn't. They can't buy tickets in the secondary market. The internet doesn't necessarily work. The websites are horrid in the UK. You know what I'm saying? It's just like they're a little farther behind on some of the tech, as well as the aggressiveness in commercialization. Now that isn't a bad thing. We appreciate that as Americans who are just like commercializing everything first and foremost. So they will follow, and the revenues will go up. Another bit of news here from Simon Stone. Q2 results coming out Thursday. No investor call. And this is because it's locked down. There's no communication from the club. They're running a sale process. They're not going to speak on it. And that's wise. And it shows you why no one's going to be breaking news on Twitter, especially numpty fan accounts.
They don't know much. What England lacks in technical sophistication around football, they make up for in dark ales and fish and chips. So can't wait to go there in May.
No, but they also will hate if they took a Manchester United game and brought it to the United States. People will be outraged.
I don't
but
see
the
how you
teams
do
are gonna
that with all the games. With all the games you have,
no
it's
NFL
like,
team is like they play less games than NFL, and they're playing games in London. They're playing games in Germany.
Games in the NFL, they play like multitudes more games than the NFL.
No, I'm saying the NFL plays 17 games, and they're already playing like a game or two in London and Germany. So there's less games in NFL, and they're playing them in Europe. And England has more games, and they're not going to play one abroad, whether it be maybe in Germany or in the United States. It's clear that they're going to do that. It's just a matter of time. Like the NFL is doing that because it's successful. They did it once. They're talking about making NFL teams in Europe because it's so successful playing their games there. The demand from the fans for NFL in Europe is crazy. And guess what? The demand for watching Manchester United versus Liverpool in New York City would be out of control, and they're going to tap into the market because the NFL is proving it. And it's unfortunate because it's just going to mess with the traditional way the game is played. But maybe they make it 40 games, and each team plays two games. 40, and they get 2 games abroad. They're good to do it. It's why? Because money's like gravity. They're good to do whatever makes the most money.
Always
and
wins, unfortunately.
I don't necessarily agree with it, but I just know where it's going. So don't shoot the messenger. Speaking of don't shoot the messenger, PSG offered Marcus Rashford $400K a week.
$20 million, baby.
How are we feeling about that?
Well, he didn't take it, and he didn't posture for a sale or to be sold and to move on to Paris. This is the watermark. This is what Rashford is expecting, right? So if this was leaked, this is mostly leaked by his camp. Apparently, United is dragging their feet on Marcus's contract. The rumor is they're focused on De Gea. The rumor is they're focused on the sale, blah, 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 blah. I think this is a challenging one, but given that this has now come out, this is what he's expecting. And
350,
honestly,
he'll go. He'll stay for 350.
I would
give
think
him the
so.
Jadon Sancho plus.
I would think so. I would give him more than the Jadon Sancho. You can make him like
highest paid. He
You
has to
make
be
him the highest
highest
paid. He should definitely get paid more than De Gea.
By the way, they said they would not do this anymore.
Well,
These
they're idiots. They're
Yeah,
literally
these
like,
idiots,
who those
yeah.
the Paella boys? Sir, the Paella boys. Those guys are the biggest numpties you've ever met. Either way, Marcus Rashford, he wants to stay. He wants to stay. So you don't want to talk about Harry Kane? You don't want to talk about your boy?
Harry Kane.
Number one priority, sanction. This is it. Deal. I mean, this is the news coming around. There's a price that's been quoted. Apparently, this is the one that Ten Hag wants because Osimhen's like double the price. Osimhen wants one. They want 150. They think they can be had for 80. Apparently, they're going to try and get the deal moving even before the summer transfer window, which does not sound like Manchester United. I've never seen that in my fucking life as a United fan. But we'll keep you posted on the Kane development.
Well, on that topic, let's jump into fan questions. At Man United DYL, he says Kane or Osimhen, and this article kind of transitions into this question. Look, Harry Kane is not like, even if you're like, hey, Levy, here's 80 million. That's what you want. This is a great deal, and you sell us Harry Kane. He won't do it because he wants to look like he doesn't want to sell Harry Kane.
I know.
The problem with doing the Harry Kane deal is just you got a guy who's just going to rope-a-dope you just because he wants he's playing the optics.
He's
He
irrational.
doesn't want to look like, hey, he wants to look like he's just going to get an insane deal, and that is the only way he can save face because everyone's killing him for firing Conte and all of the manager turnover. And so the only thing he's got is that he's a shrewd businessman, and he's got to stick to that. So it's going to be a racket. But is it worth it? Yes. Do you go for Kane? Yes. Osimhen, you could be missing out on the next big thing, but you're going to pay for it. And the problem with paying $150 million is when we paid record-breaking money for Jadon Sancho, dud. Harry Maguire, dud. Paul Pogba, dud. Lukaku, dud. And you have to get away from that. I will pay for Harry Kane because his track record is established. He is older. He's probably on the decline, but he has a pass on him. He can get it to Rashford. He can get it to the right wing.
He scores
can
shit
score
ton of
goals.
goals. He scores shit ton of goals.
Exactly what we needed United. It's going back to what United used to do. Used to sign the best players in England, steal from rivals, put them in your team. Harry Kane for Manchester United. There's a lot around this. I want him. Osimhen is just another high-flying player. Can he keep it up? I don't know. I just don't know.
No, he looks a real player, but I think for that price, I think we just got burned so many times trying to buy the next big thing.
150 million, right?
150 million euros. Top dollar. I mean, they're going to win Serie A. They're like winning it by a mile. They're in the Champions League. They don't want to sell. They've got a really good squad. And Kane, he wants to come. Like, I think at this point, everyone, like, Spurs is a fucking disaster. They don't win anything. That's their DNA. They're losers. Like, got it running through them. And Kane, they are, bro. They are losers. I'm sorry. They're just they're bums. And Kane, you know what? He's a bit soft, but he's a goal scorer. He is consistent. His injury record is pretty good, and I think he's the type of player that has longevity because it's like he's not built around just out-and-out speed like a Haaland. Dude, he's a crafty player. He's a great finisher of the ball. He would score boatloads of goals for Manchester United.
He's wise.
Yeah, he's wise.
He's wise.
And most importantly, he would love play. He would, like, I'm telling you, he would shine as a Manchester United player. It would, like, he'd be He'd be
Clip
so
that.
happy. I'm telling you, bro. He would, like, some players come in and it's just like, they fall right in love. RVP was like that to a certain extent. Kane would come in. Would make us title contenders right away. If we had a Kane this season, I think we'd still be in it. I mean, obviously we got blown out in a couple of matches, but the big thing that we've been missing is goals. Because if Rashford doesn't score, no one else has been. Kane, he can get you 25 EPL goals a season, 40 all year as long as he can stay fit.
No, I bet you he actually scores less goals, assists more to Marcus.
As long as he
but
scores the
obviously
same
you got
amount.
to. This is more importantly, you got to keep Marcus.
Yeah.
You lose Marcus, you sign Kane, you're screwed.
Yeah, you are.
So, there's a lot here for the front office to do, and the sale process is a distraction. So can they keep their eye on the price? Can they keep this thing going? If we're leaking, we're signing Kane. That doesn't sound like a front office that's going to be gone. That doesn't sound like the ownership is going to leave. So I would be looking to these deals in the summer, looking to these rumors, because the more action there's going to be on the front office front, probably the less action there's going to be on the sale front, because you wouldn't be bidding $80 million for Kane or re-signing Marcus to a big deal if you're going to sell it within a matter of months, and that could be a sign of where things are going.
That's a good point.
At Jeff V_TMUA, love the show. Do you think Eric Ten Hag will go with McFred with no sauce, or be daring and play Iqbal in the 6, and Bruno in the 8, Sancho in the 10, Rashi on the left, Antony on the right, and that goal-scoring dynamo, Scott McTominay at number 9? This is only half having a laugh. What do you think? How is he going to go? We also have another question on the same topic. At Beeps UNF Pod, who's going to play in the midfield now Sabitzer is hurt? So who do you think is going to play in the midfield against Newcastle?
I think it's like an Ole throwback. It's going to be McFred with Bruno. Now, the one thing I thought was kind of cheeky is because of how well he did on international break and how poor our number 9 is at scoring goals, I could see McTominay playing 10 and just having him push into the box, have Bruno play more deep alongside Fred, and they could just clean up shop with ideally a strong center back pairing behind him. I don't see Iqbal coming in.
Fred has too much responsibility.
I don't see
That's
Iqbal. I mean, that's why you have Bruno next to him to kind of shoring up the shop. You'd have Martinez and Shaw behind him in center back. Iqbal is not even next up in queue as it relates to youth, right? Kobe's next. That's been shown because he's gotten minutes this season.
What about Lindelof CDM?
It's too far of a reach. It's he's not fast enough. I would see him getting dusted in the center of the park. If anyone would be Martinez. And even then, it's I don't think you want to be putting center backs in the middle of the park. We've talked about it a lot, but I think there's a reason the manager hasn't opted for it.
Well, Newcastle came out to attack. If you remember the Mind Games pre-final, Newcastle were like, oh, they're boring. They're just going to sit back. They're going to foul us. And then all of a sudden they came at us. So the question is Newcastle going to sit back in traditional style, or are they going to come at us? If they come at us, playing conservative and on the break with Rashford might be the way to go. But we shall see, sir. That is it. That is the podcast Newcastle preview in the bag. We're back, baby. United are back. We're absolutely buzzing. Cannot wait for this match. It's going to be huge. Can't wait. A little nervous. Win. You got to celebrate this win. This is a huge one. Wish we had that Everton tune-up before Newcastle away, but we're just have to go right for that, jumping in the mud, fighting for that knife. Sir, give us our top 10 downloads last 7 days.
Number 1, how you doing? New York, Los Angeles, California, Chicago, Illinois, Tampa, Florida, London, England, Atlanta, Georgia, Dallas, Texas, Melbourne, Australia, San Francisco, California, and last but not least, Phoenix, Arizona. Appreciate all the American Devils listening week in, week out. We couldn't do without you. This is the song they'll be singing in the away end at St. James Park on Sunday. United Calypso. Enjoy the week. We will talk to you all soon.